There are powerful forces shaping the world's industries.
Of societal and ethical and environmental.
Try to actively engage and contribute to each of these.
The pandemic, like everywhere, has been a brutal blow to this region and this economy. We established a program called Buy Now, Shop Later, and that program was a way for businesses to have customers purchase gift cards that they would use later when they were able to reopen. And Corning Incorporated and Corning Federal Credit Union were able, out of incredible generosity, to do a match. And we were able to put nearly $500,000 into these businesses to help sustain them to when the restrictions were lifted. It really was a lifeline for this community and these businesses. Back in '72, there was a devastating flood in this community. It doesn't matter, Corning Incorporated is here. They're invested, not just financially, but in their heart. You know, their employees are a part of this community.
Basically, the Chemung River breached its banks as a part of Hurricane Agnes, and it was a tragic flood where we lost a number of people. Water was rushing through where we're sitting now, and we used that opportunity to rebuild and restore the downtown to what it was in the 1800s when those original brick-based buildings were there. So it's really created a nice gem of a downtown that's really important to us as a company and important to our employees. I think because this has been our home for over 150 years, it's hard to look at this community without Corning Incorporated, and we feel that responsibility.
So he worked at Corning and has worked for Corning on and off here for close to 60 years. Doug and I got a start in our Corning career by being probably at the age 5 or 6, where he would bring products home to us because he worked on our consumer business where he was trying to make stronger dishware. So he would bring the dishware home to 5 and 6-year-olds and say, see if you can break this. So our first job was probably as testing engineers for Corning as 5-year-olds. And then years later, Doug came to Corning. He worked here as a scientist, my brother. And then not long after that, I started as a patent attorney at Corning. And just recently, my son has started as a materials engineer working on high temperature refractory materials. So it's a third generation actually of Corning just starting their career. So it's a long history for Corning. You really become committed to the company. And you see that in a number of different ways, but one of which is the longevity of people's careers. I think a lot of people stay here. They put their roots down here. They love the area. They believe in each other. When you go to a soccer game with your kids, or when you go to the supermarket, or when you're driving down the street or walking down the main street of Corning, you see your fellow employees. You see people you work with every day. And so it's important to have a good relationship with them because you're going to see them everywhere. Something that's unique about Corning, I think, is that we come up with a lot of inventions. They don't always work for the intended purpose, and we can't always commercialize those inventions. But someday, in the future, something comes along that helps us realize the benefit of an earlier invention.
And then, very important stakeholders where we have more of an indirect impact would be society overall, and then future stakeholders. And we try to actively engage and contribute to each of these. I think that our lesson over 170 years of inventing new materials is that sometimes invention takes a really long time to do. But I think if you step back and look at it from a stakeholder perspective, is that can be okay from the standpoint of employees. They love doing the research. They feel like they're contributing to something bigger than themselves, which is true. I think for investors, sometimes that patience can be a challenge because it takes a long time for payoffs. A big part of making an optical fiber that's great for quantum communications is making one that's extremely low loss. But as we do research to make extremely low loss fiber, we incorporate what we learn into our existing products. And you saw us come out with a new fiber this year that has low loss, is compatible with more fibers. So along the way to being patient, I don't know when quantum communications happens, we can make real progress for our customers and our investors today.
Especially traditional ways of doing AI, they use a lot of energy and they use a lot of equipment. But what NVIDIA has been able to do because of our energy efficiency is not only dramatically reduce the amount of computer hardware that is actually needed, which is creating a lot less waste for the environment, our technology is actually 42 times more energy efficient than traditional technology. NVIDIA's GPUs are used in virtually every type of medical imaging technology that is out there. The power of the technology allows radiologists and doctors to better identify any pathologies or abnormalities than traditional imaging technology could do. During COVID, there was a race to really understand the virus and to understand what types of drugs could be developed. So we actually worked to make our Parabricks genome analysis toolkit available to medical researchers all throughout the world. Hundreds of people and researchers in 88 countries downloaded that toolkit within just a few weeks. And so the opportunity to be able to contribute to science during such a critical time was just made all of us very, very proud as a company.
Why are you use it for free? I mean, typically, like if you talk to someone who running the business, they might think, oh, if we can make money out of this, right?
Open sourcing our software has always been a very important business strategy for us, and it turns out it's also a very sustainable strategy as well. And so we create software development kits and libraries. We use internal resources to create them, and we also work with external developers to build those. And when we make them available to the development community, it means a more rapid adoption of our technology because people don't have to start from scratch every time they buy our products. There is software that's available out there for them depending on what they're trying to get done. And it also creates more rapid adoption of our technology, which is a great business strategy. So ecosystems are incredibly important to NVIDIA, and especially the relationships that we have not only with developers, but with startups, with global startups that are in our network. So we have over 2.5 million developers in our global developer program. We have a program called the NVIDIA Deep Learning Institute, and we offer a host of classes, both in fundamental and in advanced training as well. And each person that goes through the program receives certification. So not only are we adding more value to our ecosystem because we now have trained people that know how to program with our technology, but we're also giving them an incredible career opportunity as well to have access to a technology that's really revolutionizing AI. So both of those pieces are very sustainable. I do know that in South Korea we have over 120,000 developers in our developer ecosystem, so it's quite robust in South Korea. We also care deeply about what can be done with our technology. So we focus on self-driving cars and healthcare as two examples of areas where we feel that we can have a societal impact. Many folks think that it's just giving money to charity or to planting trees, when it's a much broader scope of activities. It's more tactically the way that you would look at this would be the products that you make and how you make them and how you run your business. So on the product side of things, if you don't have a product that serves society or helps humanity in some way, could it be repurposed to do that? Could you create a new business line? It's really the integration of societal and ethical and environmental considerations throughout the entire business.
Why do businesses exist?
There are many companies that give some of their profits to charity, but I don't think that satisfies the principle of comparative advantage. Why? Because a company's expertise is not to figure out what charitable causes are most worthy. Its expertise is in its core business. Vodafone, a telecoms company, launched M-Pesa, which is a mobile money service in Kenya, and that allowed people to transfer money to each other just using their mobile phone. And that provided so much of a benefit because it meant that even if you did not have a bank account, you were able to save and transfer money. And so why did Vodafone do that? Because their expertise was in telecommunications. So the word purpose, I think, is one of the most misunderstood words in business. So I appreciate you asking about it. So what people think purpose means is altruism. It's serving everybody. So they think a purposeful company is one that tries to serve customers and the environment and employees and communities and taxpayers and so on. Now that sounds great, right? We're serving everybody, but it's very unrealistic because there are trade-offs. So if I'm an energy company and I shut down a coal-fired power station, that's good for the environment, but it's bad for workers, so you can't serve both at the same time. So a company's purpose is how they're going to be serving society, but it also needs to be focused and targeted. It cannot be all things to all people. So purpose needs to be at the heart of your business, not just something which is an optional extra, because it's something that should be central. It's to focus on the issues that are most material to you and that you have comparative advantage in solving, you have expertise in addressing given your company's resources. So if you focus on a couple of things and do them really well, then you're much more likely to be a purposeful business that not only serves society, but does so in a profitable way.
Investors have definitely become a lot more interested in ESG over the past few years. They're finally understanding that those elements are core to measuring a business's long-term success. So actually our research and data point to exactly the opposite, that sustainable companies can actually be more financially successful. And some of the research that points to that is that 1 out of every $3 in the United States now is sustainably managed. And other research proves that ESG funds have a 4.3% higher return than non-ESG funds. You know, from NVIDIA's perspective, taking care of our employees first, building technology that helps humanity, and building it from an energy efficiency perspective are really core to who we are. And so those sustainable business practices are a really important part for us, and they are a large piece of what we think makes us financially successful and a favorite of our investors.
Well, I think the biggest obstacle is they don't believe that social value is supportive of profit. Like, they often view the value that they create as being a fixed pie, and any part of the pie that you can give to workers or communities or the environment is at the expense of shareholders. It's the idea that the pie can be grown. So when you invest in workers or the environment or communities, you're actually expanding the pie, and therefore shareholders benefit because their slice it goes up as well. So let's say you pay your workers more. Yes, maybe today your profits are lower, but if the workers become more motivated, more productive, and more likely to stay, then actually in the future, the profits will go up, the pie is growing because the workers are becoming more productive. So the whole idea of pie economics is that the pie is not fixed. Certain actions you can do to serve wider society can indeed grow the pie.
그게 과연 맞아? 그게 진실이야? 라는 질문도 사실은 있습니다.
뭐 이러다 우리 다 죽어 하듯이 투자자들은 그것을 이미 인식을 하고 개별 기업들에게 이것을 요구하기 시작했고,
좋게 보이기 위해서 ESG 워싱을 하지 않겠냐, 그런 우려도 이제 나올 수 있겠습니다.
제가 보기에 ESG는 형용사가 아니고 숫자로 표현되어야 된다.